So this is a book I've been using for coloring practice. I don't remember where I found this, but I bought it from probably the dollar store, or it was from a thrift store. So there's been a few pages I've worked on in here. Some of them I like, some of them I do not. This one was something I liked, but I added so many strange colors that now it's a little bit odd. And I put so much work into this. Like I said, this is just practice. It's downtime. It's keep up my coloring skills, keep up my blending, keep up my thought process with depth and texture, surfaces. And so it's kind of just a fun workout. And that's the finished product. So kind of a Victorian-ish, weird colored old house. Then this next one is sailboats. I've had majority of this partially done without recording, but at this point I'm just going to show the last bit of it. This little booklet, Home Sweet Home, is kind of fun, just a light-hearted coloring exercise. Like I said, I picked it up a few years ago. It's like printed in Pennsylvania. It's the paper that I'm coloring on is so thin, and I guess low quality. It's not pure white. It is an off-white, unbleached, really thin, fragile paper. It's hard to tell until you get right up to it, and the colored pencils start eating away at the fibers in the paper, and pretty soon you poke a hole through it. So it's not the best quality of paper. That's why I decided this is just for practice. It's not going to be high quality, something I want to keep in a portfolio. This is just kind of, hey, I'll throw the book in the container of other artwork I did, just to say, hey, I've added that to my work experience. I've colored these different images with different depths, different subjects, different textures, different lighting. It's, like I said, just good practice. And at this point, this is a kitchen, another page in this book. The back kitchen wall is supposed to be a tile, but I turned it into a copper wall, and I'm gonna go through that and make it look a little bit better. Make it look a little bit better. What am I saying? I'm trying to incorporate blues and greens into the kitchen. So I want the tile and the countertop and the top board that goes up by the ceiling, the crown molding, to be similar colors and similar tone. And then I also did not like the ceiling being that solid yellow. Looks like someone threw eggs up there. So I gotta change that. Cabinets are looking okay. The inside cabinet shelving, I didn't want that starkly different from the glass pane. I want a person to kind of look at that and say, oh, there's glass on those cabinet doors, and there's a cupboard inside, there's shelving inside. So that's a thing I'm working on. Don't mind the old lady hand. I have worked many jobs in my life. I've had over 22 jobs in my lifetime, and I'm the type of person who works myself to death. So my hands took it the worst. My knees, my hand, and my back. And so that's kind of... So here I'm trying to get these tiles to look good. I'm debating on the depth of the tile, the certain colors I'm going to use to make that depth, if I even like this blue-green. At this point, I should have put the pencil down and walked away, because what happens next is pretty bad. And like I said, this paper is super thin. The paper is just, it's a step above a paper towel. One step above. So it's pressed paper towel, you know, like not bleached white. It's still got its somewhat natural yellow tint to it. Yep, and then I add the grassy green, and absolutely am disgusted about that. So here I'm trying to blend this all, and I'm like, no, 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 it looks too much like the kitchen island table. I have ruined this. Look, bleh, bleh with the ceiling. Ugh. So I finish ruining it. I'm like, yep, yeah, let's just ruin that. And at this point, here comes the blue again. I'm like, no, no, I can fix this. No, 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 no. I'll slow this down. It's starting to give me epilepsy. I'm just kidding. Yes, blue. Add that blue. That's gonna help. Keep doing that. Go right ahead. You know, the blue. Yep. That's looking gravy. That's good. It's good. Going for it. Throwing the blue on. Bam. Yep, paper tore right there. Torn paper. Another torn spot. 2 spots. I've put more work into the floor and got worse results than these little knobs. I like this little green kitchen island table, and kind of the brass knobs are good. I'm still working on the wood cupboards and adding reds, browns, and yellows, and a hint of this reddish purple. The copper wall, yeah, I touch that up now and then here and there. I'm not too keen on fixing it to make it smooth and perfect. And that's not the style I'm working with. I'm not making everything smooth like frosting on a cake. I kind of want the more sketchy, like if you're sketching with a pencil sketch, and yet using colored pencils to kind of express movement of color. If everything's frosting smooth, then that's a perfectionist's obsession. If you're a perfectionist, my artwork is going to bother you, most likely. Might be moments where it doesn't, but to me, this would bother a perfectionist a lot. None of this is perfect. None of it's in the lines. None of it's smooth. This is more of movement color. Like if I started sketching characters, I would not start with a perfectly smooth line that is continuous and never lifts off the paper. The pencil never leaves the paper, and to make a full and complete enclosed character outline. That's not how to sketch. And when I color, I do that. I sketch my colors on and I let them blend and flow. Some people call it messy. I can agree that it does look messy, but that's just the way I'm doing this. I have no desire to make perfectly smooth artwork. I want it messy. I want the challenge to see if I can convey the depth, the texture, the color, the interest, and have people say, hey, I can relate. I had cupboards about that color. They were never perfectly smooth. And that reminds me of, that reminds me of this person's home we went to, or this item that brings back memories because of these colors or the texture. So there. That's kind of how that is. All right, so I've done some more work off camera. That last cupboard is nice and rich. The other cupboard next to it is not. I have to change my zoom here, and it changes the color tones of my lens of my camera. So that changes the artwork appearance right away. It's a completely different saturation, completely different tone, brightness level, and I can change all that in my camera, but you can't change it to make it match from zooming out to zooming in. All right, so I go through the cabinet wood facing. I add more reddish brown to warm up the room. So this is like a heavy, classic mahogany wood or red wood cabinet. Expensive, really heavy stuff. As I go through the video, I add a lot more darks. I get the black colored pencil out and start going over stuff, adding shading and depth. So this is good practice for me. I need to learn to shade with color, and then if I need to bring in the black colored pencil, do that. And with this thin of paper, I kind of have to, because you can't layer too many colored pencil marks. Right now it's like a medium light pressure I'm using to push the pencil onto the paper. If I went too heavy, it'd tear right through the paper. So I'm working with cheap, low-cost paper. So this is when I need to bring out more colors to do the shading. It is not an easy task to work with really thin paper. It requires a lot of delicate pre-thought, pre-planned knowledge of mixing colors and textures. That's what that requires. At this point, I very much don't like the page, and I think it's the ceiling. The yellow ceiling is just killing it. It's wretched yellow ceiling. It's like somebody spewed yellow egg yolks all over the ceiling. Just blah. That ruins the whole picture. If it were not a blue-green trim and not a copper background, oh boy, and white cabinets, pearly white cabinets, and a hint of pink, then that color of yellow perhaps would be okay for a kitchen. Perhaps gold or silver utensils and knobs, one or the other, not both. Oof, that'd be crazy with both. The mind would be confused. Silver and gold, shiny stuff in a pearly white cabinet kitchen. What kind of back wall would that be? A very, very light grayish color. Very hint light gray. Almost white. And then have a lemon meringue yellow ceiling. But what kind of texture? I don't know. It depends on the shape of the kitchen. So anyways, I'm getting distracted. So working on these cabinet doors, I should probably work on my personality voice instead. Just the way I talk right now is probably more irritating than the color of the ceiling. That's just how I feel. Ooh, that's not straight. Does that bother you? Like I said, in some of these drawings in this book, people forget to finish their lines. Either the lines are too busy and they leave out lines just so it's not too busy to color. Although I've seen some very, very busy drawings. Or they forget. They're in a hurry. They do this quickly. They're on the computer, blam, blam, blam. They get the main outlines of all the important big objects. The focus is outlined. They leave the rest to kind of just hang there, use your own interpretation, blah, blah, blah. And no, that drives me nuts. I go back in with a pen and I'm like, you didn't finish your lines. Okay. So after this endless working on the wood color and trim, which does improve the image, it does get better, and it smooths a lot of that cabinetry out. I put in my shading with my black colored pencil, and then I kind of clean up the floor and the ceiling a bit more, and that is pretty much a wrap for that kitchen. I have a lot of this artwork I'm recording is mostly just to show that yes, the more you practice, if you're feeling stuck in a rut or you don't like what you do, the more you practice, you will get better. There's the ceiling. Yep, I fixed that ceiling. I made the floor solid, and here comes the eraser. You can see what my kids have done to it. Ever so slightly loved on the eraser. But the eraser could take it. I'll just use half a butterfly. Oh, yes. I have a little bunny. The dog brought us a bunny. I probably said that in the last video. I don't remember. And we named him Gubby. My son did. And he is frantic at the moment. I've been feeding him goat's milk. And little vitamins for Rabbit. So he's kind of over there having the zoomies. He got some veggies and just went bonkers. But he also needs some sunshine time. Except for he takes off like a jackrabbit. Oops. I mean, he is a rabbit, but he'll just run straight out in the middle of nowhere and get eaten. Because he's a ding-dong. So I gotta figure out a cage for him for outside. What I had right there is okay, except for a bird could fly by and just pick him out. Or my dog. My dog is the one that brought us the rabbit. In fact, the dog came back the next day with a rabbit bite on his face, right up by his eye, which means he probably had the rabbit in his mouth. Probably Gubby's mama rabbit. My dog is a thing that eats things. So I have to go and rescue the things, and hopefully they're okay when I get there. He brought me that baby rabbit though, so maybe he felt bad. or he got caught. I think it's probably option B. He got caught. He wandered all the way across the yard with that thing in his mouth and then plopped it on the ground, and it was in shock. That poor little thing. So I cupped him in my hands and talked softly. And he was so small when he came. His eyes were open, so he was over 2 weeks old. But he was the tiniest little thing. His ears barely stuck over his head, so he was just past maybe 3 weeks old. Now he doesn't want to drink milk. He's being a little stubborn, but and spend most of my time keeping an eye on him. He just zoomed all over the place this morning. Everywhere. I stuck him in a chocolate box and hoped for the best. I'm kidding. He's doing great. He has a little white mustache. I think he's California cottontail from what I looked up. And once I do this in the ceiling, I kind of don't want to look at this anymore. Yeah. So I kept the color underneath the table because at least that would be a shadow area. That little zoomer over there is just going everywhere. Zoom. I add the blue. I come back in with a secondary color and kind of, hit up the countertops there with some blue. It's just odd colors I'm using. I don't know what's wrong with me. But I think blue and brown on the color spectrum go together, and so does copper. And if you throw a little green in it, it does look good. But the way you apply the colored pencils is how things really catch the eye. Yes. I like this general color splash on the wall. It's not specific. The bowls and the plates are colored about the same style. Just kind of throwing color on there in a sketch form. Just a little bit messy. And the knobs, pretty cool. I like the center kitchen table. It's a good color of green. My camera phone's not going to pick that up well. But it is a very light, cheery green. At this point, it dawned on me to add a deeper purple for the shadows in the creases of the tiles on the floor and for some of the shadows elsewhere. And this actually helped quite a lot. This is what my camera phone does. So my cell phone's not great. And someday I'll have to switch that out. So I mock my artwork quite a lot. It helps me get through it because I just don't want to sound like a person when who can do things just right and say things just right when I know I can't. It's pretty obvious. So I'm throwing it out there. This is the way I think about it. If you don't like it, that's too bad. I'm sorry you feel that way. Hope you feel better the next day. Look on the bright side. It's not your artwork I'm criticizing. Is that a song? So the black colored pencil does wonders. And if I feel I want to, I will go over the copper wall with the indentations with just a hint of black colored pencil, and that will really make it pop. This was the turning point for the whole picture, was this black colored pencil. Even though I probably should find a reference image for a cabinet door with glass on the front of it, because being able to draw what's on the inside of the cabinet with the glass paneling over it is kind of a a skill. Sometimes you can see all the way in the cabinet. Sometimes the glass paneling, the light on it prevents you from seeing the interior. So I just didn't want to overshine the cabinet glass. I wanted to be able to see the cabinetry inside. Shelving, the back. So I'm not quite sure how to portray that. It's something I need to educate myself on. And I'll do that later. Like I said, this little kitchen island table is my favorite. I'd love to have that in real life. It looks like my other real life green kitchen table, or my two drawered. It had 2 drawers. Yep, I redid that video. Long time ago, I refurbished a 1900s wood table. I won't open this book up and look at that picture and work on it for a few more days because of how big of the mistakes I did with the floor and the ceiling. But that's okay. It's a learning experience, and I can always come back later and work on it. Like I said, this is the little book I'm working out of, and it didn't cost too much, and it's just practice. I'm going to do this short video of this page a little bit differently, and it won't be completely finished when I'm done, but I'll just transition from set still photos. I'm adding kind of orangish red to the chimneys, 2 different colored pencils for that, and beginning the terracotta red roof tiles, and I really like those. I had a really detailed, long progress art image I worked on before in my previous videos of cottages, little stucco cottages by the sea. That one had red roof tiles on it too. So I'm hooked on this. I like the images with the red roof tiles. So Mr. Crow here is gonna get a bit of a highlight. Not his full dark feathers, but we're getting there, progress. A little bit at a time. And then same thing with the chimneys. I put some shadow and little bit of deeper black around some edging. And there, I put some navy blue on the crow. That usually helps a bit with his feathering. And then I'll come in with a more deeper blackish red and go over him. Gubby says, you have to like, subscribe, and comment in order to see him eat some corn next time. Otherwise, no corn.